Hello there, it's me, Chase, and I'm going to do a review of Nefarious, the movie. Just went to go see it a couple hours ago, and wanted to do a little review. I wanted to take some time to think about it before I made a review, and so that's what I'm doing now. So, obviously, right off the bat, the cinematography is a step up again from the God's Not Dead, Pure Flicks kind of stuff. And that's good. That's clearly a step in the right direction. And that's the kind of stuff for me, right now at least, I'm looking for. I'm looking for Christians raising the bar of how, of just making better movies and hopefully in the future shows and stuff. TV shows, series are quite popular now. They've become pretty popular because of the range in which you can do things with them. Nowadays, you can make them more movie quality, but they're not movies, and so it's a really cool innovation in the world of media. So we can look forward to that maybe hopefully in the future at some point. But anyways, getting back to the movie, the cinematography was good. The story, great, awesome, very fascinating story. And obviously it's sort of a prequel to a nefarious plot written by Steve Days. Just had some pizza a little while ago. Sorry. So yeah, that was the story is really good. I think the highlight of the entire movie is simply the fact that the vast majority of the movie takes place with really two people, which is the psychiatrist and Nefarious. And that's like it's really just a conversation for the most part, most of the movie, conversation between the two of these guys. Like I'm talking at least 20 minutes of just back and forth between the two of them. That's not something that's easy to pull off. It's not easy to pull off having such lengthy dialogue scenes between just two characters, and that's all they are. It's not easy to pull that off and keep an audience interested and engaged the entire time. And I think Nefarious does that really well. I was just constantly engaged with what was going on. There are points where Nefarious is talking really fast and I didn't understand everything he said, but I got the basic gist of what was being said. So that in and of itself deserves a lot of praise. Just being able to do that. The dialogue was very interesting. It was, I mean, I knew what to expect because I listened to Days on a fairly regular basis, so I knew what to expect. There were moments that were actually kind of funny in a very cynical and very, disturbing kind of way, and again, I knew where the movie was going with these moments. I'm not gonna get into the details of them yet. Like the only one I'll get into the details of is like when the psychiatrist talked about, we're improving as a society because of racial injustice and all the woke stuff basically that he was talking about, fairness and equality, quote unquote. And then Nefarious, of course, starts laughing. I knew that was probably going to happen because Nefarious looks at that and thinks the fact that you think that is justice, like the guy playing Nefarious, Patrick something, I don't know. I don't remember his name. I'm very tired. I'm sorry. I am incredibly tired right now. I've been just driving all weekend. Haven't really had a break. Not much of one anyway. But Patrick Flannery, I think is his name, but who did a great job as playing Nefarious. I think he was the star of the entire movie. I mean, he really stole the show. The movie really is about Nefarious. It's an interesting because it's a very unique movie in the sense that the main character is the villain. But anyways, now I forgot where I was going, but so the did a really good job, I think, of like building up the tension. You know, the psychiatrist starts off, you know, his hair is well done and everything, you know. Eventually you see him, he's taking his jacket off now at this point. His hair is getting more and more messy, and the visual stress, you can see how he's visually becoming more and more stressed out because of this guy, that this Nefarious character is really getting under his skin. And he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be a professional psychiatrist, and this Nefarious guy is just running him to the ringer like easy. You know, so there's you know, so all in all, it's a great. I thought the story was good. I thought the execution was good. You know, it just really good. I will say on the cinematography part, as much as I'm seeing that we're going in the right direction, I do think movies like Jesus Revolution had a little bit better cinematography. I would like to see in the future, you know, just an improvement on that aspect. Again, that doesn't make or break a movie, so don't take that as being that. I'm just noting that, you know, these are some little things that could fit. Like the fact that it's just these little things really is a good thing. That just shows there's just some technicalities that need to get polished out. Otherwise, I thought the story was good. The acting was pretty good. The acting really got better. I think the acting was what really took off between the scenes of the psychiatrist and Nefarious. And I think it has to do with Patrick Flannery, Sean Patrick Flannery, but his portrayal of Nefarious. He did an incredible job doing Nefarious. And I think that performance allowed the guy who played psychiatrist to do fairly well there. You know, but like the ward, you know, the guy who played the ward, maybe it's just me, I didn't really find his acting very compelling throughout the movie. I thought he was a little bit plastic, and it was a little bit, and it kind of rubbed off on the guy playing psychiatrist. They have the scene where they both meet for the first time in the beginning. For me, the acting in that scene wasn't terribly great. It just seemed really clear that they were reading like not really clear, but pretty clear that they were reading lines. You know, but once it got to with Nefarious stuff, that's where it really started to get really interesting, and the acting really took off. And I think it has everything to do with the guy who played Nefarious, who just did a phenomenal job as Nefarious. That being said, I think there was an attempt to make a Joker-like character, like a Heath Ledger Joker, and I don't think it quite reached that level. There were a few moments where the guy playing Nefarious, when he went back into the Edward guy, there were a few moments where I was just kind of like, it's a little bit irritating. Some of the things he did, like, you know, trying to get words out that just couldn't get them out. Like I don't know what it was. Whoops, those were a little bit irritating to me. It's just kind of but that's just my little thing, I guess, you know. But overall, a great job, especially when the guy was going to the chair at the very end. I really felt bad for the guy, you know. That I really had this like level of sympathy for him. I was like, man. In a certain sense, it's almost like you're putting to death an innocent man. He's not innocent, of course, but it's almost like you are. Like the guy has no control, no power. You know, it's all Nefarious doing this kind of stuff. You know, which, I mean, look, demon possession aside, which I'm not too sure about. You still did the deeds, you know, and you got to pay for the crime. That's kind of the way it is. But there are a few now. The big claim of Nefarious to the psychiatrist is that, you know, before the end of this day, you will have committed 3 murders. When he says that, I'm going, and of course I heard it in the trailer, and I'm like, okay, I'm wondering what that's going to lead to, you know. And of course that's in the movie, and it's fairly early in the movie, and that's a moment of dialogue from Nefarious that is designed, of course, to pique the interest of the viewer, the audience, like, whoa, like that's a bold claim. Wonder how that's some foreshadowing right there. I wonder how that's going to work. And of course it does. It does that really well. Now, when the first, murder, quote unquote, that is revealed that the psychiatrist apparently committed, or did commit, having been drawn out by Nefarious sort of draws out that confession from the guy. Of course, the psychiatrist tries to rationalize it away as not murder, but a justified thing. I don't want to get into the spoilers, so I'm not going to do that. But nevertheless, kind of is murder. But once that was revealed, and that Nefarious, on those grounds, accused the psychiatrist of murder, I was like, okay, I see how this is working. And it only took a little bit longer after that before I realized, okay, I know how this is going to end. So I kind of figured how it was going to end, and it did end the way I assumed it was going to end. Because in the beginning, and I don't want to I'm not getting into spoilers, but in the beginning, Nefarious kind of reveals his hands about what his intentions are with this guy he's possessed, but it's sort of like a reverse psychology thing that he's pulling on the psychiatrist to not reveal what he really, really wants. It's basically to trick the psychiatrist, and I can't tell you if he succeeds or not. I can't tell you that. All I know is that once I figured out how Nefarious was making these rules about these murders that the psychiatrist is going to commit, once I figured that out, I was like, I know exactly what the third one is going to be. So in that sense, I did kind of predict the end. And there's a way I would have done it. The very end, when Nefarious reveals the third murder, there's a way that I would have done it, that I think that would have been, at least for me, it would have been better. But again, I don't want to get into the spoilers, so I'm not going to mention any of that stuff. But it's a fascinating thing too. And like I thought the most fascinating part of the movie was when Nefarious is explaining to the psychiatrist sort of the origins of what led to the fall of the angelic fall, or the fall of the angels, Satan and his angels and his followers. And especially when he started talking about, like the freedom of the will that God has given his creatures. That was a very compelling scene, because it shows you, and it's clear, it is very obvious, very, very obvious that Steve Dace, this entire Nefarious concept, is spawned out of this book right here, Screwtape Letters. It is very obvious, because Nefarious uses the terms the enemy in terms of God. That's what Screwtape calls God in the Screwtape Letters. And he calls, he says, down below, which is hell. Screwtape uses the same terminology and stuff. So it's very, very clear that Steve Dace is drawing from the Screwtape Letters. By the way, if you haven't read the Screwtape Letters, I would highly recommend it. As well done as Nefarious is, the Screwtape Letters really is. I mean, it's the real cake. I mean, it takes home the cake. It's the inspiration for all of this. My point being is mainly that Steve Dace tends to write a little bit on the nose, and therefore the artistic style is not really there. That makes it a very fascinating read. It's just kind of like you can tell very clearly where Steve Dace is coming from. C.S. Lewis was able, he was a professor of philosophy and English literature, so he knew very well how to write in a very compelling manner, and so that's really the advantage that Lewis had. There's nothing that's going to ever top Screwtape Letters in this kind of genre, I guess. The Screwtape Letters is just a brilliant read. It's a great read, as compelling as Nefarious is, and it is. the screw tape letters is really, really where it's at. But anyways, you see in Nefarious in his explanation about what drives the demons to do what they do. It's very in line with Screwtape's philosophy about the whole thing, you know, his hatred for humanity and the hatred of Satan for humanity, you know, and how the demons use the desires of man, that our deepest desires, like our desire to be free of everything, including from God and his law. And they make that appealing to you. Freedom, you'll get to be free. But it's actually, it's an enticing thing. It's the very, really in a certain sense, you can argue it's what caused the very first sin, is Adam willing for himself against God. And that's how the first sin, and that's really behind every single sin when you think about it. It's my will against God's will. It's my freedom and what I want over and against what my Creator, who created me in a particular way for a particular purpose, who owns me the way he created me and what he made me for. So that concept of autonomous freedom, Nefarious is like so proud to boast of, and how he's infected. And that's where again he laughs and scoffs as the psychiatrist sort of boasting, and we've got more rights than we've ever had for individuals now, and more freedom, and for people to do whatever they want to do and live the way they want to live. And Nefarious just laughs at that, because he recognizes that that this guy is just duped so hard. Like it's hilarious. I was about to say it's not funny, but it actually is funny. It's hilarious, like how duped this guy is. He thinks that the way where society is in the 21st century is great progress, and in reality, it's not. Now, I guess it depends. Someone like, again, my eschatology, post millennial. I don't agree with everything about Steve Dace. Although I do understand, like, okay, it's Nefarious talking, so Nefarious, of course, is going to probably not always tell the truth, you know, and sometimes he'll tell deliberate lies in such a way, just meant to get under your skin and to try and scare you and to try and break you to think there is no hope to save, you know, your people. We've already won, kind of that, like that sort of pessimistic idea, so you'll just give in even further. I'm certainly not there. I do think there's been tremendous progress. We are in quite a lull right now. Maybe not even a lull, but like a real. I think we're in a judgment period. I think it's pretty obvious that we've approached that. But I have also at the same time noticed a growing and a rising interest in what truth is. So I count that as a good thing. I see a lot of patterns of people beginning now to ask real meaningful questions, and it's growing and it's growing. And so I'm encouraged by that. But anyways, yeah, so again, you know, all in all, a great movie. I did enjoy it. I would recommend it. It's a movie that's going to make you think. Like for me, it wasn't anything new for me. Because I've listened to Steve Dace. I've read Screwtape Letters, which is what Nefarious is based on. So it wasn't like a super surprise to me, but I did like the movie. And I thought, again, I think the highlight of the whole movie is the fact that it is able to convey conversation, a two-way conversation for like scenes that are up to like 20 minutes at least, and not get boring, and not to the point where it's like, I mean, can we move on to the next scene? I mean, this is taking forever, kind of thing. Like the only other movie I can think of right now that does that is like Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. I thought that movie did a great job, because even its opening scene was like 15-20 minutes of conversation. And what was most amazing is, like, especially like in the bar scene before the big shootout that killed like half of the American guys or whatever, the bastards. And just that one scene, it was just it just like whoa, like holy smokes, it just boom. That scene, that was like almost like a 30-minute scene. May have been a 30-minute scene. The vast majority of it just being dialogue, and the last like 25 seconds, just a sudden shootout, just for like 25 seconds at the very end. The rest of it's dialogue, but it was such like the way he was able to just like pull you in to this whole thing, and most of what was going on in that scene was they were just playing a game. They were playing a game. Like, talk about being inconsequential to the plot. It didn't even have anything really to do with the plot. But you're sitting there like at the edge of your seat, and you're like, what is going to happen? Like when you first see it, it's like you're tense. You know, the entire time you're tense because you're expecting, and you know it's coming. Something bad's about to happen at some point in this whole thing, and you just don't know where it's going to come from, and you're just waiting for it to happen. You know, like it was just like, oh my goodness, you know. But movies like that movie is like the only other one I can think of. Maybe the other one being Shutter Island. The ending scene was fairly long and it was fairly involved, but otherwise it is difficult to pull that off. And so Nefarious does it really well, and I think that to me is the best part, the highlight of the entire movie. So I would recommend watching it. I would give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was a good movie. So anyways, those are my thoughts on Nefarious. And I hope you found this interesting and useful. So, all right, until next time, Soli Deo Gloria. God bless. Bye.